When the police would stop you, if Fernando was playing, they wouldn't say, "What are you doing?" They go, "Why aren't you at the park?" You know, because you were doing something wrong if you weren't at the baseball park.
Fernando, te necesitamos ahora.
Dodgers owner Walter O Malley had a keen understanding of demographics. In Brooklyn, his teams were filled with players who looked like guys from the neighborhood. When he moved the Dodgers to Los Angeles in 1958, he knew that fielding stars that mirrored the city would be good for the community and for business.
It was always an idea to have the team reflect the community. It didn't start here. Probably had special nights, probably pre-game entertainment, probably printed a lot of things bilingual.
He knew that, and that's what he wanted, to have really, really good players from Mexico.
It took 23 years, but the Dodgers finally had their Mexican star. On opening day in 1981, 20-year-old Fernando Valenzuela, the pride of Echoaquila, Mexico, threw a 5-hit shutout over the Houston Astros. But that was just the beginning. During his next 3 starts, all on the road, he allowed just 1 run over 27 innings, tossing 3 complete games and 2 shutouts. By the time Valenzuela returned to the Dodger Stadium mound on April 27, LA fans had become captivated by the rookie left-hander.
He does a tremendous job, and everybody just, wow, that's really amazing. And it was pretty much after that, you would think, this guy can't top that. Next time out, he tops that. Next time out, he keeps on topping it. Anybody says, well, what's going on?
At that point, everybody started thinking, who is this guy? What is this guy? My gosh, he was only 20 years old. Just had incredible command. You didn't see this in great pitchers, not to mention, young guys like him.
For anybody, for any player, any athlete, I think when you have that people supporting you, you can feel more comfortable, more like, yeah, I can do it. I can do it for those people. They believe in me. When I go to the mound, I like to do them 100%. Like it was my last game, I go all the way.
He shut out the Astros. Then 4 days later, he came again. The way people reacted to that was unbelievable. Our audience increased so much. It was unbelievable. That's why I think that Fernando is a player that created more new baseball fans and Dodger fans than any other pitcher.
He was 8-0 with 5 shutouts and a 0.50 earned run average. But I mean, it was those first 8 games, they were just unbelievable. Just knock your eyes out.
By the end of April, the frenzy surrounding the pitcher even had its own name, Fernandomania.
I can tell you that I really became a Dodger fan when we saw Fernando. Certainly drove a lot of Latinos to the Dodgers. There was this pride in knowing that there was somebody who was born and raised in Mexico, by the way. He wasn't Mexican-American, and just was the sensation that he was.
Until Fernando, it was pretty much a white fan base. The fan base for Fernando was there because Fernando was a great player. But the fan base for the Dodgers remained well after Fernando and to this day.
This is sport, but it's entertainment for the fans, and we and myself, I try to do my best so they can have a good game and good entertainment, to have a nice day in the park.
Latinos started coming to the stadium in droves to watch Valenzuela pitch, many rooting for the Dodgers for the first time.
I think people needed a reason to forgive the Dodgers for what they did in Chavez Ravine. And I think they found an excuse and a reason. So, okay, you know what, let's go back. Because after that, people started going to Dodger Stadium, started supporting the Dodgers. People that for years and years had refused to do it until they figured, okay, they've given this Chicano, Latino, Mexican a chance.
Fernando was really key in bringing the hearts and minds of La Raza back to the stadium, or to the stadium, really for the first time.
When Fernando came in, there was no doubt he was Mexican. I mean, he would even look up at God before he threw a ball. It became, you had to go to the game. And literally, when the police would stop you, if Fernando was playing, they wouldn't say, "What are you doing?" They go, "Why aren't you at the park?" You know, because you were doing something wrong if you weren't at the baseball park.
The first sort of like sports superhero comes to town and he looks like somebody from the place back home. It's not just you as a kid sort of having something to identify to, an image, right? But it's my dad owning it. It's my neighborhood owning it. He also does not look like the traditional hero.
Yeah, he looked more like a wrestler, honestly, you know, and like the average guy.
And people would laugh. My father laughed. My father said he looks just like a typical, you know, Mexicano.
You know, the average Mexican-American that comes and fixes your plumbing or, you know, puts a roof on your house.
He was pudgy. He was small. He was what they call gordito. You know, he was kind of fat.
He was a gordito just like everybody else in East LA. He was somebody that everybody in East LA could relate to.
There's this sense that he is someone you really want to support and stand behind because in many ways, he looks like he can't win. He's going to flip the whole script on what you've known or what you believe this sport to be.
We can't all be Nolan Ryan, but your kid can be Fernando Valenzuela.
On the nights Valenzuela pitched in 1981, Dodger Stadium just felt different, overtaken by a festive energy.
It was electric. There had never really been anything like that. Obviously, LA fans had seen, in earlier days, had seen Sandy Koufax and Don Drysdale. But this was different. This was just kind of so wild and out of nowhere.
He was very popular, let's put it this way, all over the world. People were coming. We had friends who figured out in advance, unless there was a rain delay or a canceled game because of rain, when he would pitch 30 days out. Hey, Peter, do you have room or can you get me 2 tickets for a game 30 days out? That was unusual. We had never had those requests before.
It was like watching the Pope. You know, it's like being in Venezuela when the Pope shows up. If they could have fit 1 million people into that stadium, there'd have been 1 million people there.
And it was full whenever he was on the mound. Whenever the inning was over and the Dodgers came to hit, it seems if they had to go on a beer run or use the restroom, they did it while the Dodgers were hitting because they didn't want to miss a thing regarding Fernando.
It was like an East LA backyard party.
When Fernando was pitching, was a sellout, no question about the Dodger Stadium. Then at home, I know that ladies, especially mothers and grandmothers, started praying and praying the rosary because Fernando was pitching that day. So he became God, really, in Southern California. It was unbelievable.
You felt like he was like a family member that you would go visit every 4 days at Dodger Stadium.
I remember my aunt, my tia Felipa, who loved the Dodgers and loved baseball, and she would always tune in to the Spanish language radio and then watch it on TV. She was so excited about Fernando. And I think that that's the same kind of sense and feeling that everyone had in the community. And they were proud that he was there. I mean, she was from Mexico. She had immigrated here, had all the, you know, the language issues initially. So she was very proud to see him there.
One thing about the Mexican people, when they have a hero, they will never give up on that hero. Even the good times and the bad times, they will always support him.
And, as Walter O Malley predicted, having a star Mexican player did wonders for the team's bottom line.
I remember when I started doing the games at the Coliseum, the Latinos coming to the Coliseum was probably 8%, 10%. But later on, the number of Mexicans and Latinos coming to Dodger Stadium went up, up, up.
People were out there selling Fernando t-shirts before and after the game.
I think they were drawing about an extra 8,000 people a game with Fernando.
They started to hire Spanish-speaking ushers. They started bringing in Mexican-American food. So there was clearly a cultural shift that year.
And the passion for Valenzuela extended far beyond Chavez Ravine.
There's Mexicans everywhere in the United States began to come to the games to see Fernando. Ball clubs were talking about 5,000 to 10,000 extra walk-ups to whenever Fernando pitched. And people noticed that many of the people that were in line getting extra tickets were brown.
I noticed our ratings went from 0.3 to 7.8. It was unheard of that. And then it started, people calling from Mexico. We have to create a new network We had 65 radio stations in Mexico alone, carrying the games to every corner of Mexico. Baseball became the #1 sport right away to many people. People from Mexico, from Central America, from South America, didn't care about baseball. But because of Fernando, they started learning the game. Mr. O'Malley would have enjoyed so much finally watching a Mexican Sandy Koufax playing for the Dodgers.